sip of fruit punch shakes the August and
works only occasionally.
Accurate thinking and facts. You know, the thing that everybody talks about but hardly anybody ever does. Infinite intelligence, so forward thinking with its depth of wisdom. It was capable of giving a human being all of the equipment and all the machinery and all of the mechanisms with which to detect lies from falsehoods, falsehoods from truth. There is ever something present in a falsehood that just, it notifies the listener of it. It's there, you can tell it, you can feel it. And the same thing by the same token of when someone is speaking the truth. The most finished actor in the world couldn't deceive you if you would just use your innate intelligence in reference to statements that are made. Scandal mongers. Now, by the same token, you know, when you come across those people in life that tend to overpraise, tend to give too many compliments and make it sound too good and too sugar-coated to be true, but he going on at it. You know, a doting or a loving friend. What about that? Now, you know, that's a compliment, and we all for compliments. And it's less dangerous to depend upon that. But certainly, if you want the accurate facts, then you would study the remarks of a complimentary nature just as closely as you would study the other ones. For instance, for example, if I send someone over to you for a job, for employment, and I sent along with him a letter, and in this letter, it was illustrating how well off he was and how nice he is at his job. He can do his thing. You can trust him. You can believe in him. You know, get you on the telephone, give you a little sales pitch about how and why you should probably employ this person. Then what a marvelous person he is, he or she. If you are an accurate thinker, you're going to know that I'm laying it on pretty thick when I come at you like that. And you better be very careful about how much of it you plan on accepting as to be facts or something to depend on. So much so that you're going to go out and do a little bit of outside investigating. Isn't that right? Now, please, family, understand. I'm not trying to make doubting Thomases out of you. I'm not trying to make cynics out of none of you. But I am trying to bring to your attention the necessity of using this God-given brain that you have, which to search accurately for the facts. Albeit though, when you go out looking for the facts and you find the facts, sometimes they might not be what you're looking for. But there they are. You know, there are a lot of people out there that go around fooling themselves. And understand there's no worse fooling. There's no worse person, no worse fooling than the fooling that one does for himself. You know, that old Chinese proverb, fool me once, shame on the man. But you fool me twice, shame on me. People just never seem to, you know, at times in this world, more often than not, to do a little bit of accurate thinking, a little bit of outside investigating, don't you know? But anyway, we will not pay too much attention to scandal mongers and gossipers. Wishes, a wish, are often fathers to facts, and most people have the bad habit of assuming facts to harmonize with their desires. Did you know that? Therefore, you always have to be looking at, you know, at a looking glass, a mirror, when you go to searching for this business of finding and locating a person who can do some accurate thinking. You gotta put yourself under suspicion there too, don't you? Because if you wish a thing to be true, oftentimes you will assume that it is true, and then you would act as if it were. If you love a person, you will overlook his or her faults. You'll never see their faults if you love them a great deal, if you really love them. But if we're being accurate thinkers, we really need to truly watch ourselves, especially with those whom we admire most, until they have proven themselves entirely. Because even me, I'm not nobody special in life. Back down through the years, I have turned out to admire many people throughout life. but they've always, more often than not, turned out to be very dangerous. Very dangerous indeed. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, I think most of my troubles back in the early days came from when I was, just trusting people too much, letting them use my name. Sometimes they wouldn't use it wisely. It's happened about 5 or 6 times in my life. Why did it happen? Well, because I trusted the people. Why did I trust them? Because I knew them and I thought they were nice people and they said and did the things that I like. Be careful of the fella who says and does the thing that you like, because you're going to overlook his faults. Don't be too hard on the man that steps on your corns and causes you to examine yourself. Don't be too hard on him, because he may be the most important friend that you ever had in your life. The person that maybe irritates you, but causes you to examine yourself carefully. Now, we all like to meet and greet with people who agree with us. That's human nature. But oftentimes, the people that you associate with, those people that you keep around, oftentimes, they come to the point where they can take advantage of you. And they do. Now, information is abundant, and most of it is free. But facts have an elusive habit, and generally there is a price attached to those facts. Certainly the price is painstaking labor in examining them for accuracy. That's the least of the price that you have to pay for facts. And this question, how do you know? That question is the favorite question of the thinker. When a thinker hears a statement that he can't accept, immediately he says to the speaker, "How do you know? What is your source of information?" This business of asking people to identify their source of knowledge, and oftentimes if you have the slightest bit of inclination to go about and asking people for their source of knowledge, when you do that, you more than likely put the person right out on a limb, and they won't be able to do it, to identify their source of knowledge. Or if you ask them, how does he know? And he says, well, I believe so. Now, what right do you have to believe anything in this world today? Unless it's based upon something, unless you can provide some background for it. I believe there's a God. A lot of people do. But I bet there's a lot of people out there who say they believe there's a God, but they couldn't give you the slightest bit of evidence if you backed them into a corner. I can give you evidence. When I say that I believe in a God and you say, how do you know? I can give you all of that. I don't have so much evidence in connection with anything else any much more than I do with the existence and the evidence of a creator. Because the orderliness of this universe couldn't go on eons and eons at times, ad infinitum, without a cause back of it, without a plan back of it, a first cause. That's absolutely true. And yet there are a lot of people who undertake to prove the existence of God in devious ways, wherein in my book of rules wouldn't be evidence at all. Anything that exists, including God, is capable of proof. And where there is no such proof is available, it is then safe to assume that nothing exists. Now, when no facts are available for the basis of an opinion or a judgment or a plan, turn to logic for guidance. No one has ever seen God, but logic says that he exists and that he has to exist, or we wouldn't be here. We couldn't be here without a first cause, a higher intelligence than ourselves. We couldn't be here. And that thing called logic, it's a wonderful thing. When you have a hunch, you have a feeling that certain things are true and certain things are not true. And you better be careful, pay high respects to that hunch, that feeling, because that's probably more than likely infinite intelligence trying to break through the outer shell and get it on over into you so that you can use a little logic. Now, if one of my relatives or friends or someone just came up to me and was like, yeah, I'm going to make a good chunk of money this year, thousands, let's say $1 million this year, Would you think I would say if a person like that came up to me when we're using accurate thinking as a basis, as a foundation? What'd you think I would say? What would be the first question that I would ask to you? Well, how? How are you gonna do it? I want to hear your plan. And then, when I hear that person's plan, what do you think? What do you think is the next step? Am I going to accept it or reject it? Well, I'm going to weigh you, the person who's asking. First of all, your ability to get $1 million and to find out what you're going to get for it. And my logic then will be the thing that tells me whether or not that your plan for doing what you're talking about doing, for getting this money. Logic is going to tell me whether or not it's going to be probable, workable, and practical. Now, something like that, it doesn't take a very lot of intelligent thinking, you understand. But it's a very important thing to do. In all honesty, in every conversation that you have on that type of timing, you could never go wrong. Anyway, I would go over it. I would analyze your plan, analyze you. I would analyze your capabilities, your past experience, your past achievements. I would analyze the people that you're going to get to help you make that $1 million. Then by the time we got through analyzing, then I'll come to the point where I tell you, well, probably you can do it. Or I'll be able to point out to you, at the very least, it'd probably take a little bit longer than the year that you set out to get this $1 million. Maybe it'll take 2 years. Maybe it'll take 3. But then again, maybe I might come to the point where I have to tell you that you probably won't be able to do it at all. If my reasoning told me that was the answer, well, hell, I had to give it to you just that way. I've had some of my relatives, some of my family, close friends once in life come up to me and put propositions before me, and I had to tell them, I'm gonna have to turn you down and absolutely forget about it because they're wasting their time. Now that's the way an accurate thinker proceeds. He doesn't allow his emotions to run away with him. If I allow my emotions to do my thinking for me, then anytime somebody come up to me and they tell me that they want to do something, hell, I tell them that they can probably do it. They can get it done. You got this. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, your mind can achieve. I don't want anybody now to misread that statement, wherein it says, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, your mind will achieve. You caught me the first time. I said it can achieve. Hell, if it will, I don't know if it will. That's up to you. Only you know that. The extent to which you use your own mind, the extent to which you intensify your faith, the soundness of your judgment, your plans will all be factors. Will all be factors as to how well you carry out that little saying. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, your mind can achieve. It's almost like a massive test to be made to have to separate facts from information. Let's see how we go about it. First of all, scrutinize with unusual care everything you read in books or hear over the radio. This day and age, everything you see on the internet. And form a habit of never accepting a statement as fact merely because you may have heard someone say it, or you may have read it in some corner of the internet somewhere, or heard it expressed by someone. Statements bearing some proportion of facts often are intentionally or carelessly colored to give them an erroneous meaning. A half-truth, in other words, someone had once said, is more dangerous than an out-and-out lie. It's more dangerous because that half-truth part is liable to deceive someone a person who would understand half of it, but thinks the whole of it is true. Scrutinize very carefully every article that you read on the internet, regardless of who wrote them or the source, and never accept the works of any writer without first asking the following questions and satisfying yourself as to the answers. And this right here applies, family, to articles that's running rampant on the internet, especially. But the magazines, the books, this applies over the radio. This can apply to anywhere. First of all, is this writer, and not just writer, let me emphasize this. First of all, is the writer a recognized authority on the subject to which he's speaking? The writer or the speaker or the lecturer or the internet or wherever you're getting this source of information, is he a recognized authority on the subject being covered? That's the first question that you ask. Next, did that writer, speaker, teacher, etc., whatever, does this person have a self-interest motive other than imparting the information that he's speaking about, or other than imparting the facts? The motive that prompts a man to write a book or to make a speech, or someone to make a statement in private conversation. The motive of it is very important. And if you can get at a man's motive or a person's motive when he's talking, then you can just about be sure that you got a measuring stick to being able to tell how truthful he is in what he's saying. Has the writer or person of interest have a profit interest or other interest on the subject on which he writes or speaks? When you find out what a man's motive is, with whatever he's doing, if you can locate his motive in doing it, it'll be impossible for him or her to fool you in the least, because you can smell him out at that point. And is that writer a person of sound judgment and not a fanatic or a fan on the subject of which he or she writes? I've seen a lot of people in life who are on a given subject or whatever, sometimes overzealous to the point of fanaticism. If you wanted to judge me, for instance, you wouldn't judge me for the kind of clothes I wear, the shoes I wear. Maybe you would. Generally, people tend to judge people for how much good or evil they're doing for other people. That's how you would judge me. That's how you judge anybody else. Listen, you might not like a man's brand of religion or politics, if you will, but if he's doing a good job in his field and helping a lot of people and doing no damage, then never mind about his brand. Don't condemn him when he's doing more good than he is harm, preponderantly more good than harm. Before accepting statements by others, ascertain what prompted the statements. Ascertain also the writer's reputation or the speaker's reputation for truth and veracity. And scrutinize with unusual care all statements made by people who have strong motives or objectives they desire to attain through their statements, and be equally careful by accepting as facts the statements of overzealous people who have the habit of allowing their imagination to run wild. Learn to be cautious, and no matter what, use your own judgment. No matter who it is trying to influence you, use your own judgment in final analysis, at least. And you know what? What can you do if you don't trust your own judgment? You think there's an answer for that? There certainly is. There certainly, most definitely is. And there are a lot of times when an individual can't trust his own judgment because he doesn't know about, the circumstances that he's faced with. At that time, the person has to turn to another with broader experience, or different education, or a keener mind for analysis. when a person comes to that point, he has to do that. In seeking facts from others, do not disclose to them what facts you expect to find. Why you think that statement is being made? If I said to you, you used to employ, old boy, and I think he's a wonderful person, what do you think? Well, if he had any faults, I'm certainly not to get any kind of answers with a kind of a question like that, am I? If I really wanted to go about finding out about old boy from you, who I'm trying to employ, how do you think I really would go about getting the information? Well, hell, I wouldn't go through you at all. In the first place, I'd have an unbiased credit report company get that kind of information from you. More often than not, you will be truthful when you're talking to them credit report people about your business. Give out the facts, the truthful facts to that credit rating company that you wouldn't give out to me or anybody else. Surprising how much information you can get when you know the right commercial agency, which through them you can get it, or the right internet links. But oftentimes, when you go to get information direct about a man, unless it's very friendly and favorable, you won't get the real facts. You're likely to get a set of watered down facts, don't you know? If you ask a man a question and you give him the slightest idea as to what you expect the answer to be, most people are lazy anyway. They don't want to go through too much trouble in explaining. They'll just give you the answer that they know that you want, and you will just take that with it right there, and then you'll go on and fall down with it later on. Science is the art of organizing and classifying facts. That's what science means. And a man of science has neither the reason nor the inclination to modify, change facts, or to misrepresent. If a man had that inclination, then he wouldn't be a scientist, would they? They'd be more like pseudoscientists or fakes. And there are a lot of fakes and pseudoscientists in this world who assume to know things that they don't know. Your emotions are not always reliable. Matter of fact, most of the time, they're not reliable. And before being too influenced by your feeling, give your head a chance to pass judgment on the business at hand. The head is more dependable than the heart. But what makes a good combination? Balancing them. That's the idea. Just balancing them so that both of them have an equal say, so to speak. And most of the time, you'll come pretty near to the right answer if you do that in all situations that come to the forefront. The person who forgets this generally regrets his neglect. Now, these are some of the major enemies of sound thinking. The emotion of love, for instance, stands right at the head of the list, the top of the statue. You will think probably now, how the hell could the emotion of love interfere with anybody's thinking? Yeah, listen, if you said that, then I know right away that you personally hasn't in your life had very many love experiences. You've had any kind of experience with love at all. You know very well how dangerous it is. It's like carrying around a book of matches around a field of TNT. When it starts exploding, it doesn't give any notice. Then hatred and anger and jealousy and greed and fear and revenge, vanity and egotism, and the desire for something for nothing. Most importantly, procrastination. All of these things I just named are enemies of thinking. You have to be on the lookout for them constantly to be sure that you're free of these things. Provided that the thinking at hand is of importance to you, and maybe your whole future destiny depends on your thinking accurately, positively. And isn't it a fact that it does? Listen, doesn't your future destiny depend very largely on your accuracy in your thinking, or your lack of it in your thinking? Of course, if that were not true, then what would have been the point of the Creator giving you power and possession over your own mind? What good would it be? The answer is that that mind is sufficient to all of your needs. Absolutely. At least on this lifespan. I don't know on the preceding plane where you came from. And I don't know on the succeeding plane where you're going. I don't know about those planes because I don't remember where I came from and I don't yet know where I'm going. Wish I knew. But I know a great deal about where I am now. And I know a great deal about how I can manipulate my own mind so that I can influence my destiny here now, so that I get a great deal of joy, a lot of pleasure out of it. I can give and get joy so that I make myself useful and I justify my having passed this way. Why and how can I say that? Because I have discovered how to manipulate my own mind and how to keep it under control, make it do the things that I want it to do, throw off the circumstances that I don't want and accept the ones that I do want. And if I don't find them circumstances that I want, what do? Create them, of course. That's what definiteness of purpose and imagination are for.